last week in memos to each of the 11 sections in the Civil Rights Division is that our priorities under President Trump are going to be somewhat different than they were under President Biden. And we start with the statutory basis because that's where you always start as a lawyer in the Constitution. And then we tell them, these are the president's priorities. This is what we will be focusing on. Govern yourself accordingly. And en masse, dozens and now over 100 attorneys decided that they'd rather not do what their job requires them to do. And I think that's fine.
That was Harmeet Dillon, big longtime ally of Donald Trump and currently in the government as the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the DOJ. Or maybe to be more specific of what's left of that at the DOJ, because as she indicates really callously and insultingly there is that there's not that much left. Most of the lawyers are now gone. Apparently about 70% of the lawyers have either left or been fired at this point. And she made pretty clear there why that would be the case, because the goal of the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ is not what it was. And if you've been paying any attention to the Trump administration, you can probably guess the ways it's not going to be working the way that it used to. Now, she implied that they're not willing to do what their job requires. I think they would say they just want to do what the point of that division was. And they don't like that, like so many different parts of our government, that has now been turned on its head. And that's now an upside down version of itself, a dark mirror, where it's not actually designed to protect people's civil rights. It's instead intended to violate them. And they don't want to be a part of that. So can we be surprised that so many have stepped down? It's been around for a long time. It's only recently that its mere existence has become such an issue for conservatives. It was created back in 1957 to enforce US federal civil rights laws. And she has been put in charge for the same reason that Lee Zeldin's there in the EPA. And we've got RFK Jr. with HHS. It's because they are ideologically opposed to the goal of that part of the government. And so she made clear very early on that the focus of the division will be enforcing Trump's priorities, including hunting for voter fraud, preventing discrimination against white people in college admissions, and limiting the rights of transgender people. So that obviously is not what the point of it is. And also, by the way, I'm not sure that we need yet another area of the US government that is advancing those specific goals, because that's basically all the government seems to be doing these days. They've lost about 250 attorneys that have either left, been reassigned, accepted deferred resignation. And so, yeah, 70% are now gone. So I guess they don't have as many lawyers as they might like to go after trans people or to look for voter fraud that doesn't exist. But again, this is the perverse thing about this time, Brett, is that you have these lawyers there to try to protect the rights of different communities to vote, to not have their vote be taken away or suppressed. Screw that, we want to suppress it. So instead, we turn that thing, which is supposed to be a shield against injustice, and we turn it into yet another tool of injustice. And so I know our longtime viewers, like, this is probably gonna be depressing to hear because you've seen so many examples of this, but yet another area of our government has been turned against itself. What do you think?
Right, and the ultimate goal of a Republican in government is not to do anything. All of them, when they're running, they're like, I'm gonna shut this down, I'm gonna shut that down, so that when I'm the president, I have no responsibilities and the government doesn't exist. But there are so that's one aspect of it. This general dynamic of like a new regime comes into power or a new president has a new administration and they shift their priorities. That's the reason that I was able to buy marijuana from someone on Venice Boulevard for years and years and years. Because it's federally illegal, but Obama comes in, he's like, I'm not gonna arrest people for weed. And so their priorities are not to, quote, go after people who are just buying little bits of marijuana. That's the normal way that they prioritize and deprioritize certain parts of the Department of Justice. And the Attorney General's not gonna be too aggressive. But in this scenario, dude, like, this is exactly what's happening, is Trump is laying out his priorities, and they are a wish list of a narcissistic psychopath who doesn't care about law and order or America, doesn't care about the Bill of Rights, doesn't care about the civil rights of people. How do I know that? He's shutting down the departments that protect that. And instead going after a checklist of vendettas that he has against like American citizens who should be allowed to live free. And then also like these weird grudges he had where he's trying to establish this alternate reality. Like in his 100-day speech at his rally in Michigan, he said multiple times that he won Michigan 3 times. That's possibly they want us to interpret it as just a bluster of a guy who's joshing you. But when I am accused of overreacting, I point people to stuff like this. It's like, actually, no, he's putting people in place to eliminate the civil rights of people.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm not for protecting lawyers. No one likes lawyers. But like in this category, like these are the lawyers that just want to do their job.
Yeah, I think if there's any group that I'm like predisposed to be okay with, civil rights ones, I mean, could be worse. Maybe that's changing as a result of this. And this is what the MAGA movement gets, I guess. They thought they'd get all this stuff, economic or whatever, and they're not going to. Their 401k has been destroyed or whatever. Everything is more expensive. Trump, just Truth Social posted earlier today, gas is $1.91 now. I was like, I don't think that's the case, but I looked it up and no, on average it's $3.80. There's literally not one state in America where the average price is $1.91. And I know what you're thinking, oh, you're just being a lib. What is it, like $1.97? No, it's $1 more than he says it is. It's like 50% more than he says he is. And that's the cheapest anywhere in America on average. The rest are higher. And so, but again, you lie to them about that stuff. That's stuff they thought they'd get, but you have to give them something as you hand trillions of dollars over to billionaires. So what do you give them? Fake investigations into voter fraud that will never turn up anything real, but you get to do news reports about it to make it seem as if you are. You drive trans people into the shadows. That's fun for them. And then you attack people who can't speak English or whatever. All this culture war, identity politics, that's all MAGA is gonna get. And the dark part of this is that for many of them, that's gonna be enough. Their retirement's gonna be ruined. They might never own a home. Their kids' lives will be harder than theirs were. But some trans kid didn't get to swim competitively or whatever. And that should not be enough to buy them out, but it will for many of them. And that's just incredibly sad. If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?